Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. Groundbreaking for the Galbreath Mansion, now home to the Erie Women's Club, took place over 130 years ago along the City of Erie's Millionaires Row. The total cost to build the home was $60,000, a monumental sum in those days. Joining us today to update us on the current renovation projects scheduled for the historic Galbraith Mansion is Judy Santone Husted, President for the Erie Women's Club, and Melinda Meyer, Chair of the Grant Committee. Thank you so much for both being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Well, since we last talked, we are in the studio here today, but not so long ago we packed up our camera equipment and our crew, and we were able to get a wonderful tour of the Galbraith Mansion. And so for viewers who didn't get to see that show, I suggest you tune into it. But I just want to remind our viewers, who were the Galbraiths that built and owned this beautiful mansion?
Okay, well, Winifred Galbraith, her father was a very prominent man in Erie. In fact, he was known, I believe, as the old man of Erie. And he commissioned the house that they were given as a wedding present. Now, Davenport Galbraith's father had purchased the lot for $5,000 about 11 years prior to, and their home was adjacent to the lot. So the house was constructed, and it ended up that both of the parents supported the financial cost of the house. And they lived there, I believe, about 20 years, and Davenport had passed away in his early 50s. Winifred continued to live there for a while, but she also had a summer home near Cowles Beach, and she was a member of the Women's Club, and the club was in existence for about 25 years at that point, and their goal was to have a clubhouse of their own because they had over 700 members. And so they wanted their own building, but they also knew they needed to sustain that building. So they had plans drawn up for a building, a 3-story, and then Winifred contacted them and said that she was going to be selling the mansion. And the board looked at the house, they loved it, they said, okay, let's do it. And so they did not build their own clubhouse, but they bought the 4-story Galbraith Mansion. And so we have had the home. They were renting out rooms. In fact, I believe it was 10 rooms. They were renting it out so that they were able to support the house. But now we have about 100 members, and we are still trying to sustain the house. So.
And what is the Women's Club of Erie, what is the mission today? Has it changed or evolved over time?
Pretty much it is the same. It's philanthropy, it's community engagement, it's the preservation. The preservation of the house was added. But the Women's Club has always been about supporting the community where they saw a need. If there was something that needed to be corrected or maybe enhanced, or there was some type of a need or a change, that's what they would do, get involved.
When and why was the club initially formed?
Well, it started, we are a part of the General Federation of Women's Clubs. So if you would join the Women's Club of Erie, not only do you belong to our club, but you also belong to an international women's club, which is the largest women's club ever. And you will belong to the Pennsylvania Club, the GFWCPA, plus the county. And it started because a female journalist wanted to hear Charles Dickens, and he was speaking at an all-men's club, and they wouldn't allow her in. So I believe her name is Jane Crowley, am I correct?
Sounds right.
Okay. She formed a women's club. At the time it was called the Cirrhosis Society, but then evolved into the General Federation of Women's Club. And a woman in Erie was contacted by a women's club member in Pittsburgh and said, hey, do you think you could form a women's club in Erie? And they did.
Wonderful. That's a great story. I know that you have an exciting announcement here, and we have some copies on the table of something that you guys have been working really hard on and are excited to share with the community. Can you tell us more about this wonderful book we have here on the table today?
Well, I think one of the authors, who is Melinda, she and Dr. David Frew are responsible for this beautiful article that was put in the Journal of Erie Studies and produced by the Historical Society and the Jefferson Society. But I would like Melinda to talk about it.
So the project came to be a little over a year ago. The club was looking at ways in which they could get its history out into the community and also contribute to the commemoration of of women's right to vote, right? So one of the ways in which they could do that was recommended to them was putting their history together into either a book or an article. So we all met with the Jefferson Educational Society and said, you know, we'd really like to work on this history. What can we do? And it was recommended that we produce an article for the Journal of Erie Studies, which is in partnership with both the Jefferson Educational Society and the Erie County Historical Society. So the issue was released early this year. It's about 100 pages. David Frew, he covered the early years for the club and the history of the house itself. And then I took the last 50 years, or the most recent 50 years of the club. So it talks about the history of the building and the history of the club from its founding in 1897 to today.
I can tell you're passionate about it. Where did your love for this topic begin?
I am a history geek, so I actually have been a student of history since I was probably 10 or 12 years old. I studied history, that's what my undergraduate degree is in, and so really kind of shining a spotlight on local stories is what I really like to do as a public historian. And so this project was interesting for a lot of different reasons. One is there are so many histories written that talk about the men who made Erie great, right? But there are very few histories that include the women's stories or stories of other minority populations within the community. So it felt right to write a history about a club where every member was a woman and all of the accomplishments of the club over its 100 plus year history can be attributed to women. So it just felt like it was time for this history to be written.
When you were doing your research to put this together, was there anything that surprised you or any one particular story that stuck out to you?
So I was shocked to see that, or to research and find that the Women's Club of Erie founded the Visiting Nurses Association of Erie County.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I'm guessing for those who have not dug into the minutes and the board minutes and the scrapbooks of the Women's Club, they probably wouldn't either. But I think it's important that the Women's Club kind of share this type of information. Yes, they helped to found, or actually founded, the Visiting Nurses Association.
Wow. And the Erie unit of the American Cancer Society.
Exactly.
And they also had offered English as a second language classes for immigrants. And then they churned that all over to the public school system.
They were quite visionary then.
They were.
They were, yes.
And so is that how you, again, did your research? You were digging through scrapbooks, or were there any historical accounts from any members or family members who knew the original stories?
So the club has this wonderful history. probably close to 50 years ago, the club decided it was time to start putting its history in writing. So they developed a position called the club historian. And so the historian then was responsible for compiling the first 50 or so years of the club's history. And the club, as the years go by, and the club historian, that position changes, the club continues to update that history. So that was a document that we found very useful. We also spent days, weeks, months reviewing board meeting minutes. The club also, from time to time, collected scrapbooks from its members. So we went through the scrapbooks. It really was a fun time going through the archives of the clubhouse.
But you should also let her know that these were handwritten. They were not typed.
It depends. Some of them were handwritten, some of them were typed. Yes. The earliest ones are handwritten. By the time you probably get to the 1940s, they're all, thankfully, typed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure the penmanship was remarkable, but also sometimes difficult to read.
Yeah.
Cursive is, just depending on who's, doing it is wonderful, but difficult. So, upkeep and renovations for this 130-year-old mansion cannot be easy, and it cannot be cheap. So tell me about some of the renovations that you've completed recently, what you see, moving into the future, and how do you fund all of this?
Well, we put on a lot of events, but we also, we are cognizant of the fact that our members, they're not wealthy individuals, so we also want to make sure that we are putting on social events and educational. We have guest speakers, and we provide a lunch or a dinner, and everything we do is open to the public. We have been, for the past 5 years, saving our money to put on a new roof. And just recently, we have received some very large donations. So we do believe within the next 2 years, we are going to see some major projects come to fruition, which we are so grateful for. But in the meantime, we've had to address some issues too. Our back porch, we had a large hole in the floor, the windows were leaking, the roof was leaking, so we had to restore that. And then our front porch, which is quite large and it's beautiful, because of our winters with the freezing and the thawing and the freezing and the thawing, the large stones had fallen away, so we had to restore that, and that was about $12,000. So it may not sound like a lot of money to people, but it is to us when we're trying to save every dime for our roof. We also had our ceiling in our tea room on the first floor. At one time it was a tin ceiling, and the ladies, for whatever reason, they put a suspended ceiling up, and there was some water damage, and it just fell down. So we replaced it with a tin ceiling, which is another thing. When we are doing our restoration, we're trying to do it to where it was before. We feel that way we're being good stewards with the house. I know that sometimes the house is, it's very expensive at times for us to manage, but I think it's a gift for us, and we do rent it out, but we welcome other women's organizations to come and use our house. We would work out some arrangements as far as rental, and we also open it up to other organizations whose mission is similar to us. We do feel that it's a beautiful, beautiful building. We love that people come in and they see it for the first time, and they love to ask us questions. So this book actually, it helps us be better docents and give more information not only about our clubhouse, but also the Women's Club.
Mm-hmm. I would love for maybe local classrooms to get this book, and so the students in Erie aren't just learning about maybe all U.S. history, but local history as well. I think that would be really neat. I want to talk about some of your events because they are really neat and very creative, and I just really think these are really neat fundraisers. Where should people again sign up or learn for more information from these events? How can they join you guys?
Oh, well, they can go to our website. We have an application there. We have our upcoming events all listed. They can look at photographs if they were interested in renting the house. There are also, the officers are listed too, and there's phone numbers, and there's also email addresses that they can contact and gain any information that they want.
I mentioned earlier that we completed an on-location interview at the Galbreath Mansion, and you just mentioned that you can hold fundraisers, special events, weddings, bridal showers, baby showers. How does one go about booking their next event at the Galbreath Mansion?
Well, again, on our website, we have the person listed. Her name is Donna Harrington, and she will have all the information that they need. There is also, under rental opportunities, there is a price range for the different rooms. Like our tea room, I believe it accommodates about 70 people seated. And then on our second floor, which is what we call that our main floor, we have a dining room, a parlor, what we call our meeting area. It's quite large. There's also a billiard room. And with that, again, it has the number of people that it can seat comfortably. Or if you want to have people seated but not with tables, and if for standing, I think the max is about 135 standing. And for 4 hours is about $400. If you need it for additional hours, there's an additional price. When I had first joined, I had gone to an event, and I happened to be seated at a table with a couple, an older couple, that told me that they had been married there, and they also had their 50th wedding anniversary there. And she had told me, we have this beautiful staircase, and she had thrown her bouquet from the staircase, and of course the brides can make a wonderful entranceway coming down from the third floor. So it's a unique venue, and it can be a very intimate setting for events.
Makes for a beautiful picturesque background for, like I said, any of these events. What are some of the really majestic features of the home, architectural features, that, again, anybody who is attending an event or wants to hold an event there, what are we going to find?
I think the turret rooms are beautiful, and our stained glass windows.
Almost all of the rooms have a fireplace, so when whether you're hosting a bridal shower or a wedding reception, you've got your choice of fireplaces to pose in front of. The stained glass windows are definitely an asset for the building. And let's not forget, there are also spaces outside the building, using the building as a backdrop. That would be very picturesque.
And the woodwork is just gorgeous. We have, I believe it's 8 fireplaces. The Carrara marble is different in each of the fireplaces. On the third floor, it's the Carrara tiles, and again, they're all different. The workmanship, it's just gorgeous.
So our viewers who have listened to our show and again want to attend all of your events, how does somebody become a member of the Women's Club of Erie?
It's very easy. If they came to the club, or if they would contact me or our membership chair, we would send them an application, or they can go online and download it. We welcome everyone. We do have an application that asks what their interests are. And that's because we have so many committees, and as you see, we put on a lot of events, but we want to engage people right away in an interest that they would have. We put on Halloween parties. We have our Christmas in the Mansion. We also do a calendar party, which is the last couple of years has been it's been fun, but again, it's educational. You select a woman. She could be living, she could be passed away, and you decorate your table according to the month, or maybe the month that this particular woman was born. Invite your friends, and then you talk about that individual, and so it's a lot of fun.
That's very special. Judy and Melinda, I want to thank you both for being here today, and I also want to thank you both for preserving this historic, iconic building, this beautiful mansion in downtown Erie. It's such a shame when some of our historical buildings get torn down, because they really do serve as like a cultural beacon, for our community. So I think this really, keeps everybody tied together. And like I said, you just do wonderful events that really pull us all together for philanthropic causes. So I want to thank you both for doing that for the community.
Well, thank you very much.
Viewers, they have so many fun events going on. You're going to need to check out their website and sign up and possibly even become a member so that you can be engaged with this organization year-round. I want to thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel, and until next time, have a great day.